everyone, welcome to this episode of the Cajun Conservative Show, where we talk about life, we talk about liberty, and we talk about the pursuit of happiness, and we show the world that Cajuns do have intelligence. Hope you're having a good day, good week, wherever you are located. Just remember that this is the day that the Lord has made. You should rejoice and be glad in it. Hope everyone had a good weekend. I know I had. The Lord moved mightily in service again. I love it when the Lord takes over a service and he just moves. He just moves, and you let the Spirit of God just take over a service. And I'm excited. I am blessed to be part of a ministry that lets God do what he needs to do. We had a lot of news this weekend, a lot of election coverage with Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. There were some caucuses and some primaries that happened this weekend. And, of course, the media is not worried about how Donald Trump won the Iowa caucus almost by 70 points. He won by 70-plus points. Nikki Haley, I don't know, didn't even try to, almost didn't break a 30%. She's always running around saying she's bragging how, look, I'm holding about 40% of the vote. She's running around. She's saying, hey, I'm holding 40% of the vote. And Donald Trump ends the Iowa caucus. Idaho. Correction, not Iowa. Idaho. He won the Idaho caucus by 70 percentage points. Yeah, 70 percentage points. And he also won the I think it's the, I would have to find it. I thought I had it in my notes. Not Michigan, because Michigan just happened. It was another state, and he won big this weekend. So that makes 7 primaries that Donald Trump has won. 7 primaries that Donald Trump has won, and the media is flipping out, not because Donald Trump won a state by 70-plus percentage points. The news is not that Donald Trump is winning by massive scales of other states. You know what they're happy about this morning? That Haley broke Donald Trump's streak. That's right. Nikki Haley has finally won a primary. Finally. Just the first time she wins a primary, and the media is rejoicing. I saw the news this morning, and they're out there rejoicing how Nikki Haley won her first primary. Because there was a primary in D.C., the District of Columbia. Now, somebody asked me this morning. They asked me, they said, Isaac, I thought D.C. was not a state. They're not. Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. is not a state, but they still get to participate in the primary process. Now, a lot of people always ask the question, why D.C. is not a state? Well, the way that the Constitution was written, the Founding Fathers wanted an area that was the capital of the nation to not be involved with a lot of stuff, if my memory serves me correct. But D.C. gets a chance to vote in the primaries, and Nikki Haley. Now, look, impressive if you go by numbers. Nikki Haley won the contest with nearly 63% of the vote. Now, Donald Trump won Idaho, 70-plus percentage votes. But, again, Nikki Haley won D.C. with a whopping 63% of the vote. And the media is rejoicing. She slaughtered Donald Trump in D.C. And the media is happy that she got majority of the delegates in Washington, D.C. Now, there's a problem with this, though, ladies and gentlemen. D.C. is filled with corrupt politicians. Also, they are filled with never-Trumpers. And we knew this would happen, okay? We know that this would happen with D.C., with New York, with California. These liberal states, the Republicans there are more liberal than your average Republican. I mean, I'm a registered Republican, but I identify myself as a conservative. You can identify yourself as 355 genders. I can identify myself as a conservative. I don't agree with a lot with the Republican Party. Some hardcore beliefs I stand firmly on. But I am a conservative. If you look on my profiles, on my social media accounts, I call myself the Cajun conservative. But majority of so-called Republican conservatives in Washington, D.C. and other liberal states, they tend to lead more liberal. The Republican Party is not, they're not in these states, they're not going to stand for Donald Trump. They're part of the establishment, especially in D.C. Let's go and look at all the trials and all the stuff that Donald Trump is going through right now. Donald Trump is getting charged in D.C., New York, and other liberal cities. Why? Because they're liberal states. That won't happen in a so-called conservative state. Even in Georgia, when with Fulton County is a liberal place. So the reason Nikki Haley got 63% of the vote in Washington, D.C. is not because that this place is more conservative and they realize that Donald Trump is evil. They know they're backing Haley because the mainstream media is backing Haley, and Haley is not a conservative. She's part of this good old boy network. Now, I know people will say, well, hold on, Isaac, wasn't she part of the Trump administration? Yes, she was. She was part of the Trump administration. She was his UN ambassador. But that don't mean she's not part of the establishment now. But maybe look, that's one thing I disagree with Donald Trump. When he was president of the United States, he picked some people to try to unite the Republican Party together, and guess what? It didn't work. It didn't work. He picked some establishment people, and guess what? It came back to bite him in the rear end. That's why they're afraid of Donald Trump. One of many reasons why they're afraid of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump ain't gonna go ahead and say, look, I'm gonna try to play footsies with everybody, and I'm gonna try to unite everybody. I'm gonna pick people that's gonna move the country forward, and they're not gonna have their goons in the White House with Donald Trump. But this is why she won Washington, D.C. And this should be a point to everybody that's trying to back Nikki Haley, saying that she's a true conservative and she's a Republican. And no, she's not trying to play footsies with the media. No, she's not trying to play footsies with the establishment. She's a good Republican conservative. This should prove the point right here that Nikki Haley is not. She won Washington, D.C. by 63 percentage points. Washington, D.C. is full of established Republicans that do not care for the country. And look, I'm going to say this right here, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but hey, I'm a conservative. I always get in trouble, apparently. Again, Nikki Haley is not a conservative. Nikki Haley will say whatever she can to get voted. See, Donald Trump's going back and saying, look, the border's bad. I fixed the border the first time. You know, the economy was bad. I fixed the economy. I fixed it twice, if you go according to Donald Trump, because he says he fixed it with COVID-19 as well. It was a shambles with COVID-19. But Nikki Haley will say anything to get a vote or to make herself look good. Why do I say that? Well, I got a couple of stories here that make Nikki Haley look kind of shady. And I'm just quoting you stories that I see and what I feel, okay? I'm not a journalist. I'm an opinionist. I give you my opinion. If I see a story, I go ahead and I say, look, this is what this is what I think about the story. All right, so let's go up. Let's see this right here. Okay. All right, so let's go with the story. Okay. Nikki Haley says she's no longer bound to honor pledge to support Trump if he wins the GOP nomination. This is from the Daily Wire. She went ahead on it was on Sunday. She was on Meet the Press. Some people call this the press, Meet the Press. Haley made some comments saying that she signed a pledge to get on the debate stage. The question was asked by the anchor, did you sign a pledge, a RNC pledge to support the nominee? Walker said, do you still feel bound by the pledge? It's a good question. I have always said that I have serious concerns about Donald Trump, Haley responds. I have even more concerns about Joe Biden. The RNC pledge, I mean, at the time of the debate, we had to take it to where would you support the nominee? And in order to get on that debate stage, you said yes, Haley responded. The RNC is not the same RNC. Now it's Trump's daughter-in-law. The host pressed Haley, so you are no longer bound by that pledge? Haley responded, no, I think I'll make what decision I want to make. Haley responded, but that's not something I'm thinking about. And I think that while you all think about that, I'm looking at the facts that we had thousands of people in Virginia. We're heading into North Carolina. We're going to continue to go to Vermont and Maine and all those states to go and show people that there is a path forward. And so I don't look at what ifs. I look at how do we continue the conversation. So Nikki Haley basically said the reason that I signed the RNC pledge was to get on the stage. I didn't mean I'm not bound by that. Now, if you remember, Donald Trump didn't sign this pledge. He didn't sign it the first time he ran. He didn't sign it the second time he ran, and he didn't sign it this time. Now, we all knew that Donald Trump would be the nominee for 2020. We also know he's the nominee of this time around. We know that. It don't matter what Haley says or does, she's not going to win this thing. But listen to how she said this, and this is how I took it when I first read it. I signed the pledge just to get on the debate stage. I just signed it to get on the debate stage. I didn't really mean it. I'm not. Well, whoopee. Well, so does that mean that you would say or do anything to get nominated? Would you make false promises? Would you go ahead and say, well, I'm going to do this and really do this? And look, I understand this is politics. A lot of politicians would do that. A lot of politicians would say, well, I'm going to go ahead and do this, and they don't do nothing. They don't do dilly squat, or they do something totally opposite. Biden said he was going to be a moderate and listen to the Republican Party. Well, whoopee-doo, he never did it. But for Nikki Haley to come out and say, well, I just signed the pledge to get on the debate stage, how can we trust her? And this is why she's winning in states like Washington, D.C., or places like Washington, D.C., and not winning hardcore Republican states like South Carolina. Because I think people are starting to see that she's saying one thing and doing another. Why ain't she talking about her time as a UN ambassador? Why isn't she talking about being part of the Trump administration? Because she would have to give Trump credit. She would have to give Trump some leeway because he was the head of this. And see, she don't want to talk about when she was a UN ambassador because it makes Donald Trump look good. But she's making all she's saying, well, I'm going to do this, and this, or I'm going to support the nominee of the Republican Party. Now she's saying she's not bound by it, and she clearly says, hey, I mean, at the time of the debate, we had to take it to where you would support the nominee, and in order to get on the debate stage, you said yes. So she just said, she basically just said, look, all I did was to get on the debate stage. So she didn't mean what she said. And this is why people don't like Nikki Haley. She's a politician. She's a career politician. One more before we move on from this episode. Haley also on CNN this weekend said that Donald Trump, of course, criminal trials against Donald Trump should happen before elections. This is the same Nikki Haley, and this is why I titled this episode that Nikki Haley's starting to sound more like a Democrat than a Republican, because a while back they asked her this question about should Donald Trump be prosecuted. And I mean, I even talked about it on the show. She said, oh, yeah, he should. A former president should not be immune from criminal charges, especially while he was president of the United States. And I remember bringing it out. I was like, well, they're talking about you too. If you do something as president and they think it's worthy of a criminal crime, after you get out the Oval Office, guess what? They can charge you with it. See, Nikki Haley don't think. But Nikki Haley, former UN ambassador, said this week that criminal trials against former President Donald Trump should happen before the upcoming election. Oh, let me go and read it. Haley, who has lost the former president at the time of this writing, every primary and caucus event thus far, made the remarks during a CNN interview with Dana Bash on Friday, who, when asked about the U.S. Supreme Court, saying this week that they will hear Trump's appeal in a federal election case that he faced in Washington, D.C., where he claimed he should immune from prosecution because of actions taken when he was the president. This means that there's a very good chance that the trial, if it does go forward, won't happen until either right before or even during or maybe even after the election, Bash said. Should the Supreme Court speed this up, Bash asks. This is Haley's response. Well, I think the Supreme Court should hear it because we do want to look at immunity. No president should ever be above the law. And you know, we've never really had clarified this before, and I think it's important for the Supreme Court to clarify, Haley responded. We would like to see things go faster. Of course we would, but do you think the judges and the lawyers are going to have that happen? I don't know. I mean, it could be that it takes a while, but I'm glad that they're hearing it. I think it's important. So she's saying, hey, let's have a speedy trial. Let's bring this up and let's bring up this issue. But do you know why she wants this before the election? She wants to say that Donald Trump's a crook. And if you look at every left-leaning politician right now is saying the exact same thing Haley just said in this interview with CNN. Everything. We need a speedy trial. We need to get him in jail. We need to show the American people. We need to do it before the election. Ladies and gentlemen, isn't Nikki Haley sounding more like a Democrat than a Republican candidate? If she was going to pull the left-leaning talking point, she should have ran as a Democrat, not as a Republican. And this is why Nikki Haley's losing majority of states. And tomorrow night for Super Tuesday, she's going to get her butt handed to her. I would be surprised if she wins one state. She has won Washington, D.C., so give her credit. She has won one primary state. She can't, only Donald Trump could say that he won a state. But Nikki Haley is turning to left-leaning talking points, and she's ruining her reputation. Because you can't go ahead and run against Donald Trump and say Donald Trump's bad when Donald Trump's policies helped America. And look, this is one reason why I'm not voting for Nikki Haley. It's because she's starting to sound more and more like the left. She's using more and more left talking points, and guess what? It's not helping the left. How will it help her? Well, you see, Isaac, she's a Republican, and she makes these talking points. She you know, Republicans are going to listen to her. No, they won't. No, they won't. The Republican Party, look, she's mentioned this 40%, and you cannot deny the 40% that is running, that are voting for Nikki Haley. You gotta try to win the votes over. I'm not gonna deny that. But what about the 60% that is voting for Donald Trump? Okay, think about this, all right? I don't know if this is what Nikki Haley's thinking, and I'm not part of her campaign. I don't have no inside source. But Nikki Haley's harping on this 40%. What if something happens, Donald Trump can't run for president of the United States? You just ticked off 60% of the Republican Party that you need to win the election. Oh, well, hold on. We gotta hold on. We gotta worry about the 40%. Yeah, but what about the 60%? I heard one friend of mine say that the other day. Oh, Isaac, 40% is a big number. Yes, but 60% is bigger than 40. So Nikki Haley's trying to please 40% of people that said, look, we don't want Donald Trump. When you're gonna need that 60%. Now it goes backwards too. Trump can say the same, people can say the same thing. Well, Trump's ticking off 40% of the Republican base. I understand that, but 60% is bigger than 40. And Nikki Haley making comments like this, saying that Donald Trump should be charged, Donald Trump should be prosecuted, there should be a trial, is not going to make Haley popular with that 60%. And like I said, this is all what I read. This is talking points of the left. And look, who did she go? Look at the network she went on. Meet the Press, NBC, CNN. She's not appealing to Republican voters are not watching CNN and MSNBC. They're either watching Newsmax, Fox News, or OAN. That's the real big one she's watching. Look, I don't watch CNN, and I cover news. It's rare I see CNN. But Nikki Haley is going to that part of the base, and she's just, hey, we're just gonna go with it, and that's dangerous. And look, we're gonna see Tuesday. I hope she drops out Tuesday afternoon, because another argument she's having is, well, we have not heard majority of the states. Well, I think there's like 20 states on Tuesday that's going to be running. They're going to be having primaries. That's why it's called Super Tuesday. And if we have 8 primaries so far. She has won 1 out of 8. So if she has a bad performance on Tuesday, does she drop out? We're going to have majority of the country that's have spoken their voice. And she's running low on funds. Is she trying to, get new donors on the Democratic side? I think this is damage to Nikki Haley, because Nikki Haley's starting to sound more and more like the left. And look, Donald Trump has a great shot of winning the presidency. There's a New York Times poll that talked about it, that how majority of Americans are not happy with Biden, which means they're not going to go. A lot of people are not going to go vote. But on the Democrat side, they're not happy to go vote. And look, somebody asked me that the other day, what if Nikki Haley and Donald Trump runs together? I think that's I don't think Donald Trump would do that, but if it would, you get 40 and 60%, you can get the Republicans all together. But Nikki Haley already says she ain't running as a number 2. So I don't know. But I just think Nikki Haley needs to stop using left-leaning talking points and stick to the hardcore message of the Republican Party. And look, she's not going to win. I know she's not going to win. But she's in it. She's in it. But especially doing interviews like this and talking like that, I don't see her winning anytime soon. All right. Well, that wraps it up for me this morning, as I got to get ready to go to work. But remember that Jesus Christ is King. He's coming back, and he's coming back soon. So don't be faint of heart. Jesus has overcome the world. If you want to know Jesus, your Lord and Savior, you can always reach out to me at thecajunconservative5@gmail.com. Also, go check out TikTok. Go check out Facebook. Go check out YouTube, Rumble, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify. We're all over the podcasting networks. Go ahead and leave us a review if possible, and also tell your friends, tell your family that there's a friendly neighborhood conservative out there that likes to tell you the truth and expose the lies. So it would help me out more than you know. Also, go ahead and check out our affiliate marketers, Give-A-Derm. Give-A-Derm is a great dermatology company here in the United States of America. All natural products. Their products work. You can go ahead and look in the description, and the link is there, BGS Media 10, or just type of Give-A-Derm.com. You also can go check out HairClub. Hair loss is a big problem in America, and people need solutions for their hair loss. That's where HairClub comes in. Go ahead and check out the link, BGS Media 10, promo code, hairclub.com, and you get some special discounts and all that if you use my promo code. Until next time, be blessed, be encouraged. You have a good one.